American people have always been great. We just need government as good as our people. And we'll have it. And we'll have it soon.
We need a leader who's clearly focused on three things: economy, energy, and national security. And that is why today I'm officially announcing I'm running.
If someone in here was a Trump voter 4 years ago, maybe this time they say, let me give this guy a shot, or let me give one of the other candidates a try. I don't think he owns them.
Let's bring in our panel. Fox News chief political analyst Brit Hume, Leslie Marshall, Democratic strategist and former White House press secretary Ari Fleischer. Thank you all for coming on. We appreciate it. Brit, to you first. I mean, they just keep jumping in, but Newt Gingrich thinks this is fantastic news for the former president. Listen to him and I'll get your response. You think that's a proper assessment, Brit?
Well, that's the way it looks on paper. You know, all these candidates divide up the non-Trump vote. He can start winning primaries as he did 7 years ago with pluralities, even small pluralities, and he wins the nomination. I think that's what Newt Gingrich is talking about. I understand that, and I think it may well be right, but there's also the possibility when you get this many candidates, there's only so much money and support to go around, and they may knock each other off. You know, you have to have money to keep going, and you can't go very far if you don't have it. And if they all could run out of money except for a handful before the first primary, and if that happens, then it gets to be a different race entirely.
Yeah, they need money, they need support, and they need some numbers, Ari. I want to put these RCP averages on there. I mean, they just keep jumping in, and you can see at the top it really doesn't change much. The numbers haven't changed significantly in the past couple of weeks since DeSantis got in, and yet the names and the list keeps getting longer.
Yeah, that's right, and you have to presume that Donald Trump is going to be the likely nominee, but he is not going to necessarily be the nominee. You know, I'm reminded when Hillary Clinton had a massive lead over Barack Obama, or George W. Bush had a massive lead over John McCain. That's the art of politics. It is fluid. So there are a lot in now. The question is how many will be in after the New Hampshire primary, and that's what people need to keep their eye on. A lot will drop out, especially since so many are in right now. And if it gets down to a one-on-one or a one-on-two race with Donald Trump, that's a fair fight. And I think that would serve the party well. The party should have that choice, and we need to watch as consumers, political consumers, who the best candidate is. That's a judgment that'll be made in early 2024.
Yeah, Leslie, we just heard the interview with Bret Baier with Chris Christie, and a lot of speculation whether Chris Christie is in this to win this or in this to go after Trump. Here he is with Bret going after the former president. Watch.
To all my Republican friends out there, I say, I'm tired of losing, and I know you are too. It's led to the inflation we've had. It's led to not being respected around the world. It's led to an educational system that is removing parents from the system of teaching, helping to teach their children. These are all things that are wrong, and they're the results of Donald Trump's political failures.
Yeah, and if you listen to the whole interview, there was a lot of finger pointing at the former president, Leslie.
I'm not trying to be mean and snarky, but it's going to come out that way. Well, if Chris Christie is tired of his party losing, then he shouldn't throw his hat in the ring because he's not going to win, and he's not going to help his party win. Chris Christie has the same problem that Mike Pence has, and that is Donald Trump. And the reason for that is they're either perceived as loving Trump too much or loving Trump not enough, and which is it? Look, there's two people out there running for vice president, Nikki Haley and Tim Scott. The other people, I would agree with Brit and Ari, and I also would agree with Newt Gingrich, which is surprising for me to say. You have a lot of money that's going to be split up among all those other people, and that's going to help Donald Trump. In addition to that, he continues to suck all the oxygen out of the room, and until it is up against just a couple of people on that platform, all of these numbers, as they add up, they do benefit the former president.
Yeah, and Brett, Leslie mentioned former Vice President Mike Pence. The New York Times writes the following: the GOP has drifted, but Mike Pence is conservative as ever. The president, Mr. Pence, served under Donald J. Trump, transformed the GOP electorate, making the path to a Pence presidency visible only to the truest of true believers. Mr. Pence has not really changed all that much since he was governor of Indiana less than a decade ago, but his party has. It's the same Mike Pence, but a different GOP, and it's a different GOP because of his former boss. Your thoughts?
Well, it's a little unclear to me what Pence is going to try to run on. You know, he can say he's a solid conservative. Nobody would dispute that, but the field is full of solid conservatives with views not really different from Mike Pence's views, despite the New York Times' assertions that the party's gone completely different. It hasn't entirely at all. And if you're running to be the alternative to Trump, being a solid traditional conservative is where you want to be. But there are lots of people who can make that claim. He also likes to talk, does Pence, about the achievements of the administration in which he served. The problem is, of course, he does that without mentioning the name of the president, and it was Mr. Trump. So it's a little hard to run on the accomplishments of the Trump administration when you're running against Trump himself. So I think it's a quandary for him. It'll be interesting to see how he tries to deal with it.
Yeah, it is a bit of a quandary. On the other side of the aisle, Ari, Stephen A. Smith said this to Sean Hannity about President Biden's run. Yeah, more headwinds against the president, Ari. I mean, a lot of people just keep bringing up his age.
Because they should. It's the first thing you see when you see him walk, when you see him talk. It's such a clear problem that he has. Convince the American people that he's going to be vigorous enough to do the job when he's 82 to 86 years old. Look, I think the Democrats are making a terrible mistake by not having a serious insurance policy in this race. If something happens to Joe Biden this fall or next winter, what are they going to do? They've got all their eggs in a very old basket. And that is not good for the Democrats. If I were them, somebody should step up and of a serious nature and give the Democrats that insurance policy. And then if Joe Biden beats that person in a vigorous campaign, that might tell us something about Joe Biden that maybe we're not seeing. Democrats are taking a massive chance putting all their eggs in Joe Biden's basket.
Yeah, it is a fair point, Leslie. I mean, you know, if the president wants to go out there and fight for his job, then he should go out there and fight for his job. A lot of people around politics say. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are, why is there a different set of rules for Donald Trump, George Bush daddy, George Bush son, and Ronald Reagan? You know, because what happened? The Republicans stood behind their president. They put him out as their candidate, and that's what we, the Democrats, are doing, regardless of his age.
Yeah. Panel, thank you all. Ari, Britt, Leslie, good to see you.